Hey guys, welcome to Random Conversations with Oluwase Olubimiro. On here, we will be breaking down real life scenarios and questions in simple random conversations. I hope with these conversations, you get to find answers to the questions you might have or will have as you discover yourself. Have fun, enjoy the conversations, and most importantly, take notes and have an open mind. Alright, that's it. I'll just give you a little backstory. So the first time I heard Ayo speak was in, I think, 2019 January. I was in the back seat of his vehicle, of his car. He was talking to my brother. They went to look my brother's things from Obaile to me. I think that was when first time was relocating to either Ibadan or Lagos. I really cannot remember. But I heard him speak, and then back I was doing I was in Baxter and I was hearing him talk about a lot of stuff. And right there, I was literally blown away because I'm like, who is this guy? And since then, up until now, I've been stealing bits of his mind. You might not know, but most times when I have issues relating to work, relationship, life, Christianity, I slide into his DM and I'm like, good evening, sir, or good morning, sir, or any one of those things. And I ask my questions, and I have very, really, really random conversations with him. And this has gone for, let's say, a year plus. But that's like the first time I met Ayo. So this is how it's gonna go. So Ayo, welcome again. So you're just gonna share a bit about yourself, then we dive right into the conversation for today. Is that true?
Oh, okay, I think it's fine. I think it's probably the most recent stuff. I just had my first paintball tattoo today, and that's the reason why I'm outside. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's the reason why I'm outside, and that's the reason why I'm not using like my proper setup and stuff. And it's also the reason why you're having like the background noise. And yeah, so I'm a software engineer. I work at community.com, a communication platform, text messaging communication platform in LA. And I've been working there for like 2 years now. I've been using software for the last 5 years. And I run like a quiet, low-key mentorship system where I try to do 53 software engineers every year. I reduce this to be because I'm like more focused on my day job now, or a couple of years ago, which is like 10 posts every year. And then, I rant on WhatsApp like every other day, share my thoughts around career development, my thoughts around what's happening in Nigeria, happening in the technical system. So I guess that's like what I can say about myself.
All right. So I really do not know how we can improve on your sound setup, because I think I struggled a bit catching that. But
okay, so give me one. I'm going to switch up my video and go to my car where I can just use my laptop mic without like the background sound and stuff. So I'll still remain connected. My video is going to be off. I'll on my video in the next 3 minutes.
Alright, no problem. Yeah, so while we wait for Ayo, so is there anybody that like has an expectations for how today's conversation is going to turn out, aside from me, because I have a lot of expectations. So if you have an expectation of how you know what you expect from today's conversation, you could just raise up your hand or unmute and tell me. So, anybody? Am I the only one in this room?
Hola.
Oh, yes.
Hello?
Yeah, Bumi.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. So where I am right now is somehow noisy. That's how I was reluctant. So my expectation is to I want to know how I can focus on my target audience. And for the negotiation part, I have so many clients that want to, even though I know who I want to serve and the kind of money I want to make, but I still have people that challenge my pricing. And so I want to know how to deal with that. Basically, that's what I'm expecting. How to negotiate in such a way that I don't lose them, but then I still have my stand. I don't know if that even makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Aquila.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon, though.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. I'm still in the morning. Yeah, it's Saturday vibe,
He was just testing. He was testing you guys.
So for me, my expectation is I want to be able to close big deals. Yes, I want to call that amount in negotiations without feeling the chill in my spine. I think that the person will like laugh and tell me to get out of their office. You understand?
All right. And so I just
Okay, can you confirm? Yeah, I'm here. It sounds better now.
Yeah, it's better than before.
They're not here.
Yeah?
It's not yet there, right?
Yeah, it's not yet there, but it's better than before. Okay, we should still give you one more minute.
Right, so how does
Yeah, aside the background, the person in the background.
Yeah, don't worry, you just have to leave with the background sound. The next time we have this conversation, I would be at home.
All right, no problem. So down to the conversation. You are a software engineer, and I think you've been a software engineer for as long as I can remember. Though I know one thing I'm sure of is your brutal honesty about everything. So, one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation around negotiations with you, because over time I've seen you speak about negotiations and demanding for your work, and being one of the only persons in your office that maybe demands for a competitive salary, and not competitive in the sense that as regards to you being a Nigerian or an African in your workplace, but competitive in the sense that my counterpart in LA receives this amount of money, X amount of money, I should also receive the same X amount of money. So to just basically start with, a lot of us here has I think personally, when it comes to negotiations, my first experience is pricing fish in the market or pricing tomatoes at Southgate. Just before I jumped onto the career train. So from your own perspective, as someone who has been working remotely for a couple of years, what would you say negotiation is, or what is the art of negotiation?
Right, so I think for me, it is beginning of getting your work. I think that's like the beginning of negotiation. So it's getting your words, and that leads us to have a conversation around what's your worth. So in terms that if you're a software engineer and you're working for your experience in engineering and you get a job at something like at the restaurant, and you're required to cook food. Even if as a software engineer you earn like 10 million naira a month or 15 million naira a month, whatever the case may be, or per year, whatever the case may be, when you work for a restaurant where you have to make food, where you have to work as a chef, your expectations have to be commensurate to the value you're offering to the restaurant. You can use the ideology of the fact that I was working with as a software engineer and I was very excited at the something for the restaurant and stuff. So I think the bare minimum, and why I say it's the bare minimum is your depending on your negotiation skills, you can actually get more than you want. But the bare minimum is when you quantify your words, you get to fair value for it. So that's my general view.
Okay, so if I get you correctly, the negotiation at the barest minimum is getting what you are worth. All right.
Exactly.
So okay. So getting what you are worth. The question would now be so how do I know as a person what I'm worth? I wanted to ask why is that important, but I think we'll start with how do I know as a person what I am worth, or in any line of work I am doing, how am I able to measure my worth? Because I think that's like one big struggle for a lot of us, especially Nigerians. That's one big struggle, being able to weigh or measure our worth as regards our career or whatever we find ourselves doing.
Okay, so I think I'll start with mentioning the why, then I'll get to how you do it. So why it's important is when you hear this conversation around diversity, equality, and stuff like that, one of the examples. So when we have conversations around equality and diversity, the key thing is not about that conversation is the fact that minorities don't get paid the same amount of money that everybody doesn't get paid. And that's the why. The why is the fact that it's criminal, yet there are no ways around it, or it's immoral, it doesn't make sense. And it's a form of I'm trying to look for the word. It's a form of discrimination, so that's the reason why. Now, the solution to that is not necessarily from fixing the system itself. It's from fixing the people who are approaching the system. And that's the reason why we need to know. And another reason why you have, again, that's if you care about social justice or not. The reason why you need to know what, because when you join a company, you are representing the minority group in that company, especially as a Nigerian. And you're setting the foundation for how the company would approach every other Nigerian who comes to the same company. So when you come into the company and you don't set the right standard, you don't set the right expectations in terms of the value the company has to pay to you as a Nigerian, if you reflect the money they pay for every other Nigerian, you can prove that the company, except for the Nigerian who understands what is not, but who works and can challenge the status quo. So that's the reason why. So if you really care about the company perspective, if you care about setting the balance. Now the second reason is that your offering is value. And if you don't get paid enough for the value, you be in a situation where when you find out that you should pay more than that, you feel that you're in the right place, or you feel stupid, you feel paid and stuff like that. And that affects the quality of what you do guys. It can also even affect the motivation you have behind the work. So I'll give an example. If you're working in a company and you're paying like 200 a month and you don't know that you're supposed to earn like 400 a month, you do your best, you be motivated, you do everything for you to, like, you be there, you at work on time, you do all meetings, so be an internal energy coming out from you. But the day you realize that you're supposed to pay like 400k or even just 15k more, it affects how you approach your work. So I think that's like another thing people need to also consider. So that's like another reason why you need to know. Then finally is it's your work. I mean, and that's the most important thing. It's your work. You're offering value, you don't get it for it. So that's like, for me, that's like the why. When it comes to how you quantify your work, I would say that like there are really answers, but the key thing is that the method determines your work. So the key thing is that it's the market that determines the worth. You're not going to determine the worth, and that's the fact. To a very large extent, we live in a system where we really do not define what happens to us. We really do not define what we get from the world. The majority determines what happens to us, the majority determines what happens to us. So the market determines the world. And that's why I mentioned the thing about when you have like a lot of Nigerians who are receiving less when they work remotely, when you work better than every other Nigerian, and everybody goes into the market with the expectation that they're supposed to receive less. So the first thing of this is the market that determines the world. And when I'm saying the market determines the world, now makes like a broader conversation around one market. And for instance, if you're in Nigeria and people come in the US, it's very large market. The market value. Alright, so I'm in my car now. I am hoping it's much better and it's slightly more quiet. I just want to even give a disclaimer. This is not Tony's fault. I had like enough heads up, but this is just Lagos happening. I was supposed to be home like 30 minutes or 45 minutes ago, but it's just Lagos getting to where I went out to this morning. So let me just jump right into it. So there's an issue of the market. So you're a software engineer or like a designer in Nigeria, you're working for a company in the US. The truth is that you're going to earn more than your mates, or I would say you're going to earn more than the people at your level in Nigeria, but you're not going to earn as much as the guys at your level in the US. And that's because there are two markets in play now. There is the market value, your worth in the US, again, the dollar rate, blah, 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 and stuff. And there is your worth in your local market. So when you're negotiating your raise, you need to ensure that you're like on the higher side of your worth in Nigeria. You're like on the higher margin of your worth in Nigeria. It's going to be very hard for you to negotiate to get the same rate they'll pay somebody in the US for you. So that's the issue of the market. So to a very large extent, the market determines what you get. Either your local. Now, I've spoken about the market in view of what other folks in your skill level are earning, where you're located, or the company you're working, the location of the company you're working for. Another stuff is the market of the company you're working for. So I'll give you an example. When you look at companies like Paystack and Flutterwave, when those companies get to a point where they start like a lot of customers in the US, a lot of customers in Europe and stuff like that, their definition of competitive salary is going to be higher than every other person in Nigeria, every other company in Nigeria who are just servicing businesses in Nigeria. And it's also going to be different. So like when you see B2B companies like banks pay more than a couple of startups in Nigeria. Fintech companies are paying more than a couple of startups in Nigeria. And that's because fintech companies have raised more than many other startups. So those are like the dynamics to consider when you're talking about the market. So that's like the one thing on how you measure your worth. Especially that you need to consider the market. You need to consider the market you're located in. You need to consider the market the company you're working for is located in. And you also need to consider the market the company you're working for is addressing. Now, I'm just saying all of this to just share I would say the mental model on how to approach this stuff. But it's not the scientific way. So the scientific way, it's simple. Go on Glassdoor, go on Indeed, search for those roles and check how much they're paying those people. That's how you know your worth. So I just give you an idea to understand that, yes, the scientific way is that you check how much they're paying those folks, but you need to understand at the back of your mind that there is the dynamics of markets in play when it comes to your worth. So now, for when you go to Glassdoor, and let's say you're a designer, you go to Glassdoor as a designer, you start seeing stuff like junior designer, you start seeing stuff like senior designer, you start seeing stuff like mid-level designer, maybe principal designer and stuff like that. So that even gives you that it's not just, you're not just looking for the salary of a product designer. You need to know the salary of a specific kind of product designer. Then you need to now know, am I that kind of product designer? Am I a senior product designer? Am I a junior product designer? The easiest way for you to know is to go through 50 different, maybe like 100 different, or just 50 different job descriptions for each of those roles and see the stuff you know. So when you see the stuff you know, then you can actually now classify yourself within those groups. So I look at software engineering. So you see the requirement of an entry-level software engineer and you feel you know these things. You see the requirement of a mid-level software engineer, you realize that you don't know most of the stuff there. But the moment you know that you are like 60-70% in you like meet 60 or 70% of the expectations of a job description, it means you're in that category, and that's the truth. Because in reality, you're not applying for a job that you meet all its expectations, and that's one of the problems people have. When you apply for a job that you meet all their expectations, then you're probably what's the word? You're probably not taking enough challenge. So you should probably go for jobs where you meet like 80%, 60%, 70%, because the 30% is the challenge. The 30% is the reason why you're taking the job. You need to measure up. You need to do like a lot of stuff. So that's the scientific way. So first thing is at back of your mind, have the market dynamics at back of your mind. Second thing is go online, check for go online and check like different job descriptions to know to know your classification, if you're junior, if you're mid-level, if you're senior. Then the next thing afterwards is to now check how much they are paying, how much different companies are paying for your role. So let's say you are a UX designer mid-level. You know you're mid-level because you've done extensive research. Then you now check how much companies are paying. Now, in checking how much companies are paying, I'm sorry that I'm bringing like a lot of. I'm sorry that I'm making it sound complex. But the reason why I'm saying this is that when you have data, it's easy for you to have these conversations because you're not approaching your future employer from a perspective of I'm not sure. Yeah, approaching with confidence that if they say no, they're like 10 other, 100 other, 500 other companies that would be willing to pay me this amount. It's really good for you to have data. I think I learned this by following Justin Jockey for a number of years because he's very, very data driven. So like sometimes I even bring out the charts, drop it into Excel, do like the maths and all before I have this conversation. So the next thing is this: we need to be careful with the kind of job descriptions we're seeing. Please never ever use the salary expectations of Fortune 500 companies to define your worth. Now, if you're located in where those guys are registered, where those guys are actively working, then you can try it. For instance, if you're located in the US and you're a senior designer, you can estimate your worth using what Facebook is paying because you have a shot at working at Facebook. But if you're in Nigeria, the chances of you working at Facebook as a senior designer is low except you're willing to relocate. And that's because most of these companies don't have I would say their powerhouse team, their brain team, like their non-marketing teams in Africa. A lot of them just have like their marketing teams and stuff. And even at that point, they pay you, like I said initially, you need to be careful about the markets. They pay you they pay you way above current market rates in Nigeria, but they wouldn't pay you the market rates in the US. So I hope I'll just stop here so I'll allow you guys to ask like more definitive questions so that I can address each of the questions and stuff. But the key thing is just ensure that you have like enough data. You know your skill level, you know how much companies are paying for that skill level in your market or in the market of the company you're working with.
All right. So basically, if I took some notes while you were speaking. And one definitive thing you said was that the market defines my worth. Now, meaning that dependent on what market I am, quote and unquote, selling myself in or my services in, that market will determine the price of my worth. I want to use a relatable example. This was 2019. I went for the experience and I was coming back, and every downfall that was going back to the mainland, because I stayed at K2 then, every downfall that was going back to the mainland was collecting 700 naira. There was nothing I was going to do about it except I waited. So this is an example. I think this is a relatable example to the market determining the worth. Now, any other person can come and decide to okay, for that day now, 700 was the baseline, and there were some downfalls that were taking 800. So if you were desperate enough, you would just take it for 1,000. But I was neither desperate and I was neither in a rush. I just went back to the office because the office was at Ikoyi, so I just went back to my office and I slept. And I slept till maybe around I think 8-9 in the morning, and when I came back, they had reduced it to like 500. It was still within my range. So I think that's an example of the market determining my worth. At that point in time, I don't think any driver or anybody would listen to you if you start arguing with a downfall driver that, oh, I know how much it is from Obalende to K2, it's 300 naira. On good days, it is 250. How will you be collecting 700? It is outrageous and all of that stuff. So because that market has already defined the standard for transportation for that morning, I got in there and I could not basically, quote and unquote, negotiate the price down because it would be futile. I think that's a relatable example. So if I'm going to walk in through the doors of a company, or maybe I'm applying for a company, from what you said now, the first thing I need to do is to do my background research about the company, know what the company, know who and what the company is. If I can even find someone that has worked in the company, either from LinkedIn or from Twitter, I can ask about the salary expectations. I think these are possible things I can do, whether I'm working for a Nigerian company or for a company based abroad, right?
So, ideally, and in a good world, yes. And I don't have the strength or the popularity or the money yet to have these conversations. And maybe if I do, I might not have this conversation because I might be exposed to money around this topic. So for now, I'm an employee, so I'm not an employer. So maybe when I become an employer, I would change my position on this issue. But it's really hard. It's almost impossible one in Africa to get an idea of what people are earning. Because, for instance, if you ask me how much I'm earning, I'm definitely going to downplay it to like 30% of my income. And that's because I'm in Nigeria, and that's just the truth. I'm in Nigeria. Even at 30% of my income, I have like enough responsibilities, black tax, that even takes like 70% of my income, yet I still pay 30% of my income. So you can imagine me now telling people 100% of my income, I probably have like responsibilities at like times 3 or times 4 of what I can afford. So the truth is, and this is how the whole ecosystem is, the tech ecosystem tries its best to be very open-minded, but people are still slightly very careful. Again, with now the rampant kidnapping and stuff. So but this is the thing. If you reach out to someone at a higher level than you, then you can get an idea. So like, for instance, I'm trying to get a job as a software engineer in a company. I can maybe reach out to like a manager in that company. It might be easier for the manager to give like an idea of salary expectations. But the real way to approach this stuff is, so the real way to approach this is when you're asked how much you're expecting, ask them what the standard rate is for the role. I have never. So I had a friend who just got a job through Goldman Sachs, like through Andela with Goldman Sachs, and Andela asked him how much he was expecting, and this is a person I've mentored, so I knew that he had like the right approach. I knew that he understood like his worth and everything, because I tried my best to do this research and just speak to my mentees when they're applying that, hey, this is the amount you should expect and stuff like that. So, but when Andela asked him that, hey, what's your salary expectations from Goldman Sachs, I told him, hey, don't give them a figure. Send them an email and tell them that, hey, I'm excited about this role. I've been looking forward to working with Goldman Sachs for a number of years. I know what to expect. Just flatter Goldman Sachs, flatter Andela, but just tell them that, hey, but right now I don't have like a figure in mind, and I'd just like to get like an idea of the standard rates for this role. See, honestly speaking, most companies are not expecting that response. And they're in a position where it's swift, and they're in a position where most times they're honest. Not only are they honest, now if a company is not honest, and we have companies like that, we have companies that intentionally want to pay you lesser than your worth. Most times in negotiation, it's that interviewers, aspirants don't know their worth, and the companies end up paying them less because the companies could do it. Companies are like very, very terrible companies, and when you find out that the company did that to you, except you're gaining experience, leave as soon as you can leave, because the company that takes advantage of their employee is a terrible company to work with. You shouldn't pay lesser than the employee's worth. It doesn't make sense, because the employee did not have like enough context into their work. So, but to avoid that, just ask, what's the standard salary for this role? And if they don't have a standard, you'll be like, you guys have been running for a number of years. I expect that you should have a standard. Now, this conversation I'm saying can only happen for people in a mid-level role and above. if you're an entry level person or you're a junior person, you probably are desperately looking for a job and you cannot say this. And honestly, negotiation for me doesn't even make sense for people who are looking for entry level roles. Like you don't have the strength to negotiate. A mid-level and a senior engineer who has years of experience behind them have that strength to negotiate. They can say no. One of the things is this in negotiation is that you need to be willing to leave the table, yet do everything possible to not leave the table. And it says that you need to be willing to say, hey, I'm not going to take this. Yet you're having conversations to ensure that you don't leave the table. You never come with a definitive tone of, if you don't pay me 8K, I'm not taking the job. If you don't pay me 10K, I'm not taking the job. You'll be like, I think I'm worth this. I feel I'm worth this. You give them reasons for why. I have these expenses. I have to do this to be available to you and all. But at the back of your mind, you should be in a position where, man, if these guys don't give me what I want, I'm going. So I would say it's really hard for you to get to know the what, but what Tolu said is possible. It's rare. You can reach out to people in the company. And the other thing you can do is you could reach out to people in similar organizations. So for instance, if I want to know what Paystack is paying senior engineers, I can ask someone on Twitter with what the person feels Paystack is paying senior engineers, not what the person feels Paystack, what Florida is paying them at Florida with. Not oftentimes, people, friends talk to friends. People, like for instance, if you ask me what I'm earning, I'll not tell you. But if you ask me what they pay senior engineer of my level in Paystack, I'll probably tell you. I don't know if you get the dynamics. We're in Nigeria, we're in Africa, nobody likes black tax. Now in the US, there are laws. Like in my company, we're not allowed to have conversations around. I don't know what my colleagues are earning in my company. And those are the things I hate about salary structures within organizations. In many companies in the US, there are laws where colleagues cannot have the conversations around compensation. You can have it as friends outside the office, and the company should not know about it. But as colleagues and stuff, in many US companies or many international companies, there are laws against having conversations within the company.
All right. Thank you. I think a similar scenario happened. I was in an interview in, I think, the ending of February or the beginning of March. I know I shared this with people on my mailing list. A company reached out to me via a friend that they were looking for someone to fill a digital marketing role, and at that point, I had a salary range that I wanted to be collecting as per. For any role I was going to take, I wasn't willing to go below 100,000 which is fair. I think it has increased now from then to now. If you want to give me a job, I'm willing to collect. But during the conversation, they asked what I would like. Well, okay, the conversation went well, and it was time to talk about remuneration as a. Okay, they had already gone to the extent of, when can you start? I'm like, okay, give me 2 weeks to put things in order, and I'll start at the beginning of the coming month. And they were like, okay, fine. And then I asked, what are your plans for remuneration? Do you have a budget for this particular role? And they were like, no, that they do not have a budget. I should tell them my salary expectations, and they would see if they fit into it. And I gave them a salary bracket of 100 to 150k, and well, I'm here. I did not get the job, which is fine. I think it's fine because at the point of that interview, I was working with a startup based in enough to turn down, just like you said, to turn down the offer, because I know I could have opened the deal again and be like, okay, what can you afford? That's if I was actually looking for a job, like another job, because money needed to finish for person hand. I was looking for another job, but I did not think it was commensurate. One, it was not commensurate to what I would be offering them, because they asked a series of questions which I perfectly fit into what they were looking for. But I know that once the role begins, it is going to be definitely more than that. So I'd anticipated my initial stress and my incoming stress, and I've packaged it and put in the salary range for between 100 to 150. But they turned down my salary, my offer, and that was where the deal closed. So I think it's similar to what you said, that for those of us that do not have like should I call it a safety net? Okay, you are not transitioning from a job to a job. So in negotiations, are you advising that we take whatever we get if we try to push and there's a pushback?
Right. So I would say no, and that's because there's this stuff where people say at the early days you should be more focused on getting experience than getting paid, and I agree on the grounds that whichever company you're working with covers your health insurance and life perks. So at that point, you might not necessarily be earning enough to chill on Saturdays with your girlfriend, or earning enough to chill on Friday nights with your guys, or you should have your health covered. So if your company is not willing to pay for health insurance, if the company is not willing to be understanding, and I know that these conversations can only happen within the tech ecosystem. So when you're working for if you're looking at working for a bank and stuff, most of those guys are very strict. They don't really care. So, and it's wrong. It's bad. That's not how it should be. We're not robots that you're hiring. You're hiring human beings, and you need human beings to be productive and stuff. So let me just assume that I'm only talking about the ecosystem where we are hypocritical enough to say that we care about our employees, but in reality we don't care. So where you can leverage that hypocrisy within the ecosystem to get what you want. So if you're an entry-level engineer, designer, or stuff, if you can't negotiate your salary, then negotiate a learning budget, negotiate health insurance, and negotiate time off to learn. So when I joined my company, every company I have joined has given me, except for my current company because we have like unlimited PTO, I always negotiate 2 days off every month, aside from my normal 2 weeks off per year. So I get 2 days off every month, and the idea is that if I can get 2 days off every month, because in most companies there's always that cool down period within a month or within a quarter where you've worked on most of the projects and like those 2 days cool down where you don't really have stuff to do. So I just get my 2 days cool down period off, and I spend those 2 days reading. So that's like a normal thing I negotiate for. I need 2 days cool down period off. For my new company, I established and negotiated a learning budget for everyone for a year. So we have like, I can't say the amount, but we have like a considerable learning budget for a year that covers for me like 3 university courses for a year if I want. I've not used it up until now, but I'm using it for the first time this year. So then you can also negotiate like payment to go for a conference. Again, it still depends on the market. So you can't negotiate your salary when you're coming here for experience. So negotiate health insurance. Yes, they employ you as an intern, but just ask them that would they, and that's why you should have an HMO already. So just ask them that, hey, your HMO collects like, you're using like Reliance or so, your HMO collects like 5K per month. Now, would they be willing to cover your 5K per month? Just tell them that you need to be healthy, you need your drugs and stuff like that. You're not negotiating the salary. Most of those, see, this is the thing. When people already have what they want, it's usually hard for them to go against giving you the little things that would have actually led to them increasing your salary in the first place. So you can ask for them to pay like your HMO for your internship period of like 3 months. You can negotiate that within that 3 months, they can pay for like 2, maybe like 1 demi course or like 2 demi course. Just ensure the costs align with the value that you're going to offer the company. So those are like the things you do at the entry level. Have the strength to, you don't have like the strength to negotiate your salary if you don't have experience, because you can't say I'm not taking the job. You need a job to build experience so that you can say I'm not taking the job. So just take enough to cover your living expenses, negotiate health insurance, negotiate a learning bonus, and if it's possible, let's say you're going far, the job requires you to be there on site or coming all the way from the Ikorodu to their office in the island. If it's a big company, or even if it's not a big company, you can negotiate sleeping at the office. Tell them that, hey, the official, I know like a couple of offices have like a resting place where you can clean and stuff like that, so you can negotiate that. I usually do not advise doing that, and this is the reason why. But it's an extreme end where sometimes it makes sense, and I'll give you why. When you join the company, ensure that you don't offer to the company something you cannot consistently offer. I got a job at some point when I was in Accra, and then I was earning like 100k, and the job was for 450k. It's crazy. I've been in situations where I declined like good paying jobs because I was in the learning process and I did not want to break my learning process. Even the way I am now, if I want to, I'm going into a hyper learning process at the end of the year, and I might quit my job for like 3 months just to be in that hyper learning process. I do it a lot because I know the outcome. I know when I come out from that learning process, I'm getting like 2x my current rate and stuff. So I was in a learning process then in Accra, and the company in Lagos was offering me like 350, 400 or so a month, and then I was earning like 150. Or the company I was working with then, I was learning a lot. If I went for a job in Lagos, I would be doing stuff I wouldn't be learning. So, and they offered me, I didn't have an accommodation in Lagos, so they offered me accommodation. They also even offered me I could stay in the office. But a mentor of mine told me something. He said, the problem with accepting to stay in the office is this: when you can stay in the office on your own time, the day your boss wants to demand for you to stay in the office on their own time, it will be very hard for you to say no. Like, it will be extremely hard for you to say no in such a situation because you already set the precedence that you can stay at the office. So whenever they feel like saying, hey, you used to at the office to overwork, you don't have a choice than to say yes. Because if you say no, you'll be like, well, we have been allowing you to stay in the office to help you. Why can't you just stay in the office now to help us? And you are in this position where your time off is no longer your time off, and they can demand for the time that they are not paying for. So in negotiating, because now you're negotiating staying at the office as a peg for yourself, be careful not to put yourself in a situation where it now becomes value that you're offering to the company that you're not getting paid for. So be very careful when it comes to stuff like that. So, but if you really need it, if you're staying far, like I would never advise anybody to go from Ikorodu to the island. Stay at the office, work extra hours, but just stay at the office. Don't kill yourself, don't kill your strength.
All right. There's a question in the chat window. But before we take the question, I just want to address. I think at this point we know the reason why. Personally, I know the reason why I need to negotiate, and if I can't negotiate my salary bracket, then I should negotiate for other benefits, maybe like internet, workspace allowance. That for those of us that work remotely, workspace allowance, internet, fueling generator, anything that would possibly allow me to work better, that I was considering adding to buff up my salary. But if they are going to, since I agreed for the basic salary, then from what you're saying, if it is a good company and if we meet the right kind of people, they should be able, or they should be willing to offer me at least the basic stuff that would make my my input to the company better. But if I get you correctly, we should be careful to always narrow it down or find a way that it intersects with what we are doing for the company, and it doesn't look as if we want to extort the company. All right. Thank you very much. So we just take the question in the chat box. Hello, how does one handle negotiations centered around salaries when you know the market value of your skill, but still you have lingering imposter syndrome?
All right. So, whoever asked the question, do you like poverty? Can you reply?
I think the person should unmute and reply.
No, no.
Right.
I like money a whole lot.
Yeah, so good. So that's where we start from it. Now, this is the thing. If you don't ask for what you want, you end up in poverty. So I think at that point, and that's how I handle imposter syndrome. So I have imposter syndrome a lot. So I'm supposed to have started like a YouTube channel for months now, and I'm very close to starting. So I've done like 10 episodes, trial episodes already at home because I'm trying to get my whole posture, the situations and stuff like that. So, but I've had the idea of starting that channel for like 2 years. So you should understand that I have like crazy imposter syndrome. But most times imposter syndrome affects me for things that the loss is more long term and not immediate. So when it comes to like my salary and asking for those stuff, I don't have imposter syndrome because the truth is this, it's my worth. And that's, you already said it's your worth. So let me give you a trick here around how to negotiate. So in 2019, I felt I was not being paid well and I wanted to get a higher raise for 2020 and I'm going to do the same thing for next year. So the first thing I did was that I applied to like 5 different companies. I did not want to leave my company. And I still do not plan on leaving my company anytime soon, except for personal reasons if they come up. So I applied for 5 other jobs. I had like 2 offers, 2 companies that were offering me my work. So this is the thing, I already had a job. And since I had a job, I could tell these guys whatever I wanted, and I didn't really care. Worst case, I wouldn't get a raise. So when I did my negotiations with those guys, I just told them that, hey, this is my worth. That was not my worth at that point, but that was like my next stage. So I was like, this is what I get paid currently. This is it. You guys have to match what I get paid currently. And they were like, yeah, sure. So I had like 2 companies who were willing to pay me. So I went to meet my manager and I was like, hey guy, I don't know. I'm doing this. I feel that I should be earning this. You guys should reevaluate my compensation. And my manager was like, okay, we have a conversation with my boss. It's here. I still had imposter syndrome. But 2 jobs waiting for me if they say no. Killed imposter syndrome for me. See, most times you don't need confidence to do certain things. You just need data. You just need facts. I'll give an example. If you know that if you shoot someone with a gun, the person will die, you don't necessarily need confidence for that thing to happen. You might need confidence to pull the trigger, but you don't need confidence for the gun to kill the person. It's a fact. If the bullet goes out, it will affect the person. That's like a sure fact. Now, it's a sure fact that if you lose your job today, you get another one. Now, you might need confidence to have the conversation with your boss, but the moment you already have a backup plan, that fear in your mind dies because you're like, so the worst case, I'll go to the other company, have my own business, I have another job. So really, when you're going to be having this, and that's why I do not advise people to stop applying when they have an offer. And that's one of the things senior engineers don't do. They will have an offer from Facebook, they will still apply to Google, they will still apply to Airbnb. They have an offer, they'll just take Facebook to give them 2 weeks. And it's the truth. Most companies can wait 2 weeks for you to get back to them. Tell them that you should give it 2 weeks. Just tell them that it's for your mental health. We live in a generation where mental health, like if you tell a company that you need 2 weeks to think about an offer for your mental health, if they reject it, you can train them and ruin them on social media, and none of them will do it. And I don't like it, but we live in that generation. So just leverage like, hey, I need 1 week. I need 1 week to think about this stuff for my mental health. I just left the job. I need to like relax. I can't think about ways now, but just give me 1 week. Use that 1 week to apply for other jobs. Try and hear what other interviewers will be saying. So that's what I would advise that you do there. Now, Tolu mentioned something, and I just want to go back and recap and give you guys a trick. So you're working remotely for a company, and it's costing you like 30K to buy phone. It's costing you like 25K to get electricity and so on. But you don't know how to have that conversation with your boss to provide electricity for you. So this is what you do. For the first 2 or 3 months, go the extra mile to ensure that you have electricity and internet. But I see, man, I would share the stories some other time on my YouTube page. That was the time when I was in Africa. I worked from hotels. Like I would literally go from my house. That was the time I stayed with students just to work because there was electricity in school. There was time I stayed in a very terrible hotel that I could not even use the toilet. I didn't have more, but I just stayed in the hotel. I was pressed the next morning because I needed to be available to do my work. Go the extra mile. Ensure that for the first 3 months you have the best internet you can get. You are available and stuff. Then consciously ruin your internet and power for like a week. See, this is a crazy trick, but honestly, it helps because the reality is that you don't have it. So you don't even need to consciously ruin it. Just live in your normal state. Like go the extra mile to ensure you have electricity and light. Then just stay in your normal state for like a week. just the company itself will notice the difference in your availability, and you can tell them that, hey, the reason is because I need XYZ to be able to do this. I need electricity. I need this to give you guys what I was giving you guys before. So they're already aware, because this is the thing. If you have that conversation that, hey, I need electricity, I need light allowance to offer you value, they have to now start thinking about the value. So the first thing you need to do is offer them the value and take the value a bit. So they already know the value they are losing by not providing you what you want. So they can quantify it, because most companies quantify value. So they know that, hey, if this guy does not have this extra 50k per month, so you'll not be able to do XYZ. This XYZ is what 300k, 400k, 500k to us. So I just pay 50k for 400k. Let's give it to him. So that's like a trick. Do the same thing around learning. So let's say you are a designer and you feel that if you learn color theory and you learn alignment or you learn some other stuff, it will affect how you do design. So use your own money to learn color theory. Apply color theory at work. Let them see the difference between their designs after you apply color theory. I told them that, hey, I can't afford to keep learning. But I took this course like 3 months ago, see the effects in our designs. If you guys pay me, if you guys give me a learning budget of like 200k, I'll take these courses, and you already know the value of, like you already know the value of me learning stuff. So if I learn this stuff, you would see the value. So that's like a way to it.
Aquila, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks a lot. I got a lot of insights. Thank you.
Alright, that's fine. I have like a very, very relatable story to what you just said, Ayo. During the pandemic, I was working on a retainer with my former boss. He's currently in Germany, and I was working on a retainer with him. And he's trying to do a lot of stuff. I really do not know the details, but he was trying to do a lot of stuff. So I was helping him design pitch decks, slides, and all of that. So on a particular day, so I've never complained. I've never asked for like an extra, but he knows that anytime he messages me, I get the job done. And even on this ladies, when we were going to High Impact TV, I was working at the back of your car. He was the one I was working with then. So he knows that whenever he calls me, I'm available. Like it's as if I don't have anything to do in this life. So there's a particular day he called me and I told him that there's no light. I was like, yo, what do you mean there's no light? I'm like, there's no light. He was like, I need this thing done. I'm like, there's no light. There's no light anywhere. Immediately, like before the conversation ended, he sent me a certain amount of money that is way above the budget to buy fuel. So like it's way above the budget to buy fuel. There's no need to say the amount. And I've applied this same thing in the place I currently work, and I see that and I know it works. So in case anybody here is thinking of doing it and is unsure whether it works, I'm telling you it works, because I've done it. I did it during the pandemic. I currently, like, I am enrolled in a mentorship program with someone and the connect was done by my boss, because I told her that, so I really can't do it. I think I would need this and that. And I was like, oh, I know someone somewhere. I'll make the connect and you guys can start working. You guys can, like, he can mentor you and all of that stuff. I'm like, cool, I'll take up offer on that. So instead of giving me the money, she gave me an equivalent of what I would have gotten with the money in terms of human capital. So another question, we have almost exhausted our time. We have 5 minutes to the end of this conversation. Does someone have a question? Nobody. All right. I have one last question. Okay, wait. All right, there's no question. I have one last question. So we know what negotiation is. We know why it's important, and we know why we need to learn how to negotiate better. And I know you dropped some tips on how we can really negotiate all of our stuff better. But for some of us here, we are freelancers, meaning that we have conversations with clients on Fiverr, Upwork, and the likes, and some of us we are Instagram and WhatsApp vendors. How can we hold these conversations better? Do we do we like, for people that cannot afford us, quote and unquote, do we just shut them out and wait till associations better with our clients? So this will be the last question.
Okay, yeah. So this is slightly outside my domain when it comes to experience. So what I'm just going to be saying here would be knowledge. You have to tweak it to fit into your own context. I like to clarify when I'm saying things that are not based on experience, because this has to do with money and people's lives. So. But this would be my advice here. Nigerians are poor, and I think we really need to accept that Nigerians are poor. I'm poor, you're poor, everybody on this call is poor, and that's just the truth. And it might not necessarily be financial poverty for a couple of people, but a big index for poverty for me is this. So I'm doing my YouTube channel, and I need to get a professional camera, and I already have my salary budgeted for the rest of the year. And I earn decent, yet I can't access credit to be able to buy a camera. So for me, that's poverty. My friend in the US, my friend in Nigeria moved to the US after like 1 year, he was able to access credit to get a car, and he's going to be paying for the next 15 years if he wants. So for me, that's poverty. Poverty is the inability of your inability to do productive things because you don't have the money up front. And the ability to get the money up front is fucking hard because there are no jobs in the country. So for me, Nigerians are poor. So accepting that Nigerians are poor, accepting that the current system is poor, it affects how you approach your customers, and it affects the value that you're offering to your customers. So let's say, for instance, you're selling iPhones and stuff like that, then you should understand that you're not going to have like a lot of people who are going to buy your iPhones. If you're selling cakes, you need to, I think I should find like a better answer. So you're in a situation where people cannot afford your service. Your service is golden, but people cannot afford your service. How about just giving them what's enough, but not going above and beyond for them? So, for instance, if a church wants to do a website, there are ways that I can make the website wow, but there are ways I can just do the website to just be better than the current standard and meet what they can afford. So, have those conversations with them up front. Hey, if you're paying me 100K for this service, you ask them for their expectations, and you tell them that, hey, out of your 100 expectations, I can only do 70 for this amount. I really want to do it for you, but I can only do 70 out of your 100 expectations, but I will do the 70 very well for you. So it's usually so you have those clear conversations up front, and the person knows that if I'm paying 100K, this is what I'm expecting. This is something I'm going to talk about on my YouTube channel, expectations. One of the biggest problems we have in our society is that we don't have clear expectations up front, and we are not honest with being able to meet expectations or not. It affects me a lot. It has affected me in my career and stuff. So that's what I'm going to advise you to do. Then another thing is optimize your process. Many people are in situations where, especially maybe tailors and stuff like that, you're in situations where you do like a lot of stuff repeatedly, and if you could optimize the process, you end up that you don't necessarily have to repeat a lot of steps. For instance, let's say you're a tailor and you notice that you're sewing clothes for the same size of women. Like you're always sewing for like almost the same size of women and stuff. And most times you have to like be cutting the clothes from scratch every time. There's this stuff, I know this because my wife went with my girlfriend, almost went into the fashion industry. There's this stuff that tailors do in the US where they have, I think they also do it in Nigeria. Some tailors do it in Nigeria where they have like paper and they like cut the papers and stuff. So like you can have like predefined sizes. I know it's bespoke and want, but to a very large extent, you have done clothes for people of my size. So you have like papers that are cut for my size, and you can hire someone who's just starting out, and the person's responsibility is to just cut clothes using the paper. So the person just puts the clothes on the paper on the material and just does the cutting. So you have saved yourself that time and that space, which gives you enough time to look for more clients. So another thing is to just maybe optimize your process, because the truth is that Nigerians are poor. You cannot negotiate money out of someone when person does not have it. And the fact is that Nigerians are poor. the day we accept it is the day we. Okay, the easiest way to know that Nigerians are poor is that check most of the startups you have in Nigeria and check the revenue they are making, not the transactions that are happening, not the number of users they have. Check the actual money that's entering their accounts at the end of the year. Then you realize that most of them don't even make enough revenue to even cover their marketing budgets. It's a clear sign for you that Nigerians are poor. So you cannot negotiate money out of poverty. You just have to manage. So in your own business process, try your best to optimize your business process. Try your best to make your business process cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And yes, feel free to say no. If it doesn't work for you, you say no. And if you find out that there is nobody around your circle, or there is no circle of people in Nigeria that can afford the service you're offering, then maybe you should try and Japa.
All right. Thank you so much, Ayo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this is 2:02. We've taken like 2 minutes extra out of the time. So I want to say a very big thank you to you and to everyone that showed up. This is the end of today's conversation. Bye. Yeah.
See you guys.